I guess, Aaron, the last 2 weeks, I mean, there may have been more positive results from the pressure you've gotten on opposing quarterbacks. What do you feel like has maybe led to getting those sacks maybe?
Our players, man. Our players. I think that we were able to rotate a lot of fresher bodies earlier, which led to, I think, success as the game kind of went on. And it's about the players, man. The players are they're believing and they're buying into what we're telling and selling them. And obviously at the end of the game, just to see guys turn it on, and make plays in critical moments was so valuable for our team, and so I think, obviously we got a long season ahead of us, and as you move forward from game one until the last game we just recently played, I think they're going to continue to get better.
Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought one of the bigger stats on Friday night was defensive penalties. You guys had 1, Nebraska had 7. Obviously last year that was a big problem, and I was curious what you did in the off season, whether it was in the winter or the spring, that just emphasized that you guys just can't put yourself in that position.
In our defensive staff room, on the wall, I just wrote down pillars of great defense, right? And one of those pillars of great defense were penalties, right? We know last year every 15-yard penalty that we got resulted in a touchdown. And so there was a huge point of emphasis in every regard in the offseason. 1, we were able to show that to our players. And 2, I think you get what you emphasize, and so we spent a lot of time doing that in the offseason. I try to make a cut up every week in regards to, right, Coach B talks about it's not what happened, but what could have happened. Like, this could have been a penalty, right? In terms of celebration, we can't do this. You know what I'm saying? Like we cannot do this, especially during a critical moment of the game, right? Like we just got to be smart in how we do things. Like sometimes I think when players are playing hard and they're trying to be combative, I can remember Dave Dorn always talking to me about I got a penalty one game as a true freshman, and he was like, I can live with that penalty because it's combative. You're straining on a play, right? You're trying to get off a block and you accidentally run your hands across somebody's face mask, and so I think there's a difference from combative penalties and just penalties that are unacceptable and dumb, and so when you're able to show those things throughout the off season, and continue to pour into the guys, like, this is the result, like, when we have those kind of penalties, right? This is what it leads to. And ultimately, like, the goal is to, like, take points off the board, and so I just think it was a huge emphasis. Coach Parker's done a tremendous job, even on the back end, like, that was a point of emphasis for us on the off season, right? I'm sure he mentioned to you guys, right, having the gloves and oven mitts on them, just in terms of guys being grabby at the point of attack. And that was something that we emphasized, he emphasized, and it was great. And I think it's kind of taking care of itself, because we emphasized it, and the guys they're really believing in what we're teaching and preaching to them.
What you see from Dylan Rosiak on Saturday? It's statistically one of the best games of his career.
Yeah, that young man just continues to get better every single game, right? Obviously, he's a team captain for us. He's a centerpiece of our defense for a reason, and just to see him, he gets stronger every game. He gets stronger every quarter. He's so intelligent. He's very instinctual. That's a testament to the work he puts in. I mean, we got guys in our program, it goes without saying, like, they live in our facility, right? I think coaches created an environment to where it's pro-like in the sense of, like, I got mad at the guys a couple weeks ago because typically typically they come up and see me, right? And they'll just grab it's like a little homework sheet per se, right? And part of them grabbing a homework sheet is so I can see their face on Monday, right? I just want to see their face, right? I don't know if something's happened at home. I don't know if they're dealing with something. And so, like, Mondays are typically the day we're not able to see our guys. And so I got upset last week because we had a couple of guys that, they had another player grab the sheet for them and take it to them, right? And so the learning experience behind that is just to, that's a day that, because we're not allowed to physically go through anything, I just want to see them and touch them, like physically touch them, right? And if anything's happened from Saturday night to Monday morning, right, I'll have an idea via, right, how the look in their eyes, via, right, if we hear anything in terms of the training room. And so Dylan Rosiak is one of those cats, like, that dude lives in our building, man. Like, he does it. Gabe Ackes, right, Seth Coleman, Miles Scott, Matt Bailey, it's an influx of guys I can name that don't leave our building, and it's like crazy. Like they are trying to really be students of the game and take their game to the next level. And I think because guys do that, right, and we always talk about being pros, I think you have steadily seen their play, right, increase week in and week out. And so, right, Dylan had a good game Saturday because of the work that he's put in, and it doesn't help having a pretty good coach and Coach Archie and Coach Morgan.
If I asked one of your players or all of your players, how do you coach them? What do you want the answer to be back? What do you want to hear
I know
back?
they're gonna tell you hard as hell, right?
That's it. That's
yeah, 100%. Like I'm very demanding, right? Extremely demanding. You know, I think when you experience something year one as a coordinator and you know what can get you beat, right? You try to put guys in situations like the result of us not doing this well is this, right? And so I'm allowed to be the bad cop because they got a bunch of good cops that are their position coaches, right? And so if everybody's a good cop, then nothing gets done and nothing gets solved. And so I am the bad cop in the building, you know, and I don't mind it because the guys know I love them and I care about them. But with that, I think you're only allowed to be tough on them if you have a personal relationship with them, right? And so, you know, at the end of every practice, I try to make it my business, and Coach talks about this as well, is walking through the locker room, right? Just the small gesture. A lot of coaches, right, they, at the end of practice, they go to their office. They grab food, go to their office. Well, I'm saying historically, right, but I think our coaching staff, the way we're made up, we walk through the locker room. Somebody could be having a rough day. You probably got on somebody throughout the course of practice, and they probably took it personal because that's the society we live in. These young men, they take a lot of things personal, right? They got a lot of outside noise and feedback. And so in that moment, when I walk into the locker room, I'm able to turn off the coach hat and turn on the brother hat, right? The uncle hat, right? And hey, dude, like I'm only hard on you because I want you to be great, right? And when we have our players like the Xavier Scotts of the world, right, telling our younger players like, hey man, when Coach Henry stopped talking to you, then you need to worry about it. But he hard on you for a reason and a purpose, and I think it's kind of been shown.
And I'm curious how you've adjusted to that as a coordinator. A couple weeks ago, I feel like I heard Brett say like you realize not everything has to be a bed of roses. Like, what's been that process for you to kind of wear that back?
I think it's just growth, you know, like right, anytime you take on a new role, right? Like I went from a position coach to a coordinator, right? And you're not just looking at your position, you're looking at the landscape of the whole defense or the whole side of the ball. And so we have tough conversations in our room all the time as the coordinator and position coaches, and they're really, really hard and tough conversations. A lot of growth comes out of those conversations, but you know, at the end of the day, right, like it's for the betterment of our team. It's for the betterment of our side of the ball. And so I think you can only have those tough conversations if you have really good people in there. You know, we got some incredible people in our room. We are a low ego, right, room. Like we got a lot of young guys who I think are the next guys up, and they have ideas and thoughts. And I am one of those coaches. I am, you know, ultimately it falls on me what we decide to do. But man, I'm not too prideful to listen to Grant Morgan suggest something, right? Coach Trent Harris had a third down idea this last week that we ended up doing in the second half that was absolutely brilliant, you know, which helped us in the game, you know. Coach Simerson, right? He has these thoughts and ideas, and sometimes he shares them in the room, sometimes he tells me personally. But it's so awesome when younger coaches aren't afraid to voice their opinions. Now there's a fine line there, obviously, but the full-time guys, the older guys always voice their opinions. But just trying to collect all those ideas together and put them in one single file line and try to decide what's the most important and how our guys learn and all that. Like, you have to have some very special people in that room, one that you work with, and two, you have to have a room full of players that are believing in what you're telling them. And I think we have a great combination of both, and I think the result of that is you put out a pretty good product when you can do that week in and week out.
Aaron, you faced at least two quarterbacks that are perceived to be really talented, and you get another one this week in Drew Aller. How would you assess to this point how you've handled high talent quarterbacks as a defense?
You know, the irony in that is every week they get better, right? Like obviously I knew Dylan Raiola was good after that game. That cat's good as advertised, right? He's a very, very special player, and he's going to be a damn good player for the rest of his career there, right? Drew Aller, I mean, he's just as talented, right? If not more. He has a big arm, right? I think he's deceptively fast, right? He moves well, has great pocket presence. He threw a ball in the West Virginia game that most quarterbacks can't make that throw, right? And I think he was on the middle near the right hash of defensive right hash, and he throws a 7 cut like a out route essentially that was timely and on point, and that cat has an NFL arm, right? And so every week we're going to play against better players, you know, and it's like every week, right? That's this conference, you know, like every team that we're going to play for the rest of the season is going to have a good quarterback, you know, and it's so cool. It's so awesome to kind of see our players just embrace that challenge, right? Collectively, from a secondary standpoint to the guys up front, right? Every week we're going to play against good wide receivers. Every week we're going to play against a good old line. And so I just think once you get into conference play, you know, historically Big Ten, you know, Coach Franklin, I got a lot of respect for him, but how he's built his program, right? They are always going to be good offensively. He's an offensive-minded guy, and so we're really looking forward to the challenge, and we're really excited about what's ahead.
Aaron, you know this coordinator too from last year. You played them back to back. How does he mesh what he does with the personnel which you saw last year?
I mean, Andy Kolinek is going to be a head coach one day, and you can see why, right? That dude, he stresses defenses, right? Like when I told you guys I watched the Kansas game over 100 times, right? Like in the offseason, that was probably on the low end, you know. Like Andy has literally made me change how I view defensive play because of how he does things, you know what I'm saying? And so taking his offense from Kansas and doing elements of it and adding his own tweak to what he's doing at Penn State is, right? I mean, they brought him on at Penn State for a reason, right? And so we are really looking forward to that. He has a lot of respect for me and our staff, and obviously throughout college football, right, of what he does offensively, especially with those players that he has. And so it's going to be a great challenge for us that we're really looking forward to. And I think anytime you get to play ranked matchups in a setting of this stature, it's what you yearn for as a coach and as a player, you know. Coach didn't come to the and I don't want to speak for Coach, but Coach didn't come to the University of Illinois to just be in these games, right? Like I think when you talk about building something and having something consistent, right, it falls on the heels of just trying to go 1-0, man. Like trying to go 1-0 in everything you do. And so it's going to be a fun environment. It's going to be an incredible environment, right? This is what college football is about, and this is what it's made for. And so I'm just excited that our coaching staff and our players are going to have an opportunity to represent the University of Illinois in that regard.
Aaron, does T-Rod Edwards have a similar relationship with J-Mo and yourself that Johnny had last year, where it's I don't care, don't take me off this field?
So this is my time to show T-Rod some love, man. Like I say this every week. Like T-Rod is the most unselfish player in our program, right? Last week the word of the week was selfless, right? And just what he's been able to do, and it flies under the radar 24/7, right? Like to the normal human eye, you don't always see the nose guard unless he jumps out of his gap and something happens, right? But for what we've done and pour into that young man, and to see Coach J-Mo pour into him, and to see his just level of elevation every week from the off season until now, like it's been truly remarkable, right? And I mean, like obviously we have really good relationships with him, starting with Coach J-Mo. Like that kid has gotten better every year for a reason. And I don't think that players of his, I mean, because T-Rod's not the most opposing, right, like physical stature, right? But when you can get that young man to play with that kind of physicality, despite what some may say his size, that's a testament to how he's being coached, and that's a testament to his mentality, right? Coach talks about tough, smart, and dependable, right? T-Rod's a product of originally from Ohio, but was a portal guy for us. And you talk about bought in, you talking about having a face of your program that can pour into new faces that walk in. It's truly incredible because he is a living testimony of what we refer to when we talk about Illinois DNA, being tough, smart, and dependable, and somebody just handling their job in their duty on a regular basis. Again, right? His job is not the sexiest job, right? He doesn't get some of the accolades that DBs get or quarterback may get or wide receiver gets. But I can tell you this, right? Without that young man in the game, this defense is completely different, right? And just to see his growth, right? His maturation from when he first got here to now has been truly remarkable, and I'm really excited about this matchup for him going into this game.
Does there a balance
Wait,
present some
wait,
challenges
wait,
for
wait,
you? I
wait.
mean,